This is your daily market recap for Tuesday, December 27th, 2022.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market recap for Tuesday, December 27th, 2022. Hopefully you had happy holidays, everything's going well. Trying to watch the market without thinking too hard about it. Trying to record this on a different mic and setup, see how it goes. Apologize if it's not what you're used to, but try to do a little abbreviated recap for those who are around and watching the market. Let's start it off. I'm going to do the SPY, just kind of knock through a few things that I'm watching. I was watching the SPY today, watching the action, was a little concerned at the open, but then watched the 380 level. Talked about how this area, all these previous closes, got the gap down here. A lot of support here potentially. The volume was light. Not surprised that it rallied back into the close. I know a lot of people were not really rallied in the close, but just rallied off the open. Uh-oh, that's not what I want. Just is kind of what it is at this point. You can see, maybe pull the 10-minute in here. We opened at these levels, was watching it double doji, rallied, comes right back, makes a higher low, decent volume, decent wick. Curious to see how things line up. Again, this is going to be an abbreviated recap, so just kind of knock through a few things and hopefully give some insights. I'll be back at the normal setup here shortly. Here you go, QQQ, same thing, the 10-minute. Saw the little double dojis rally back. Tech is what's lingering, right? Like a stinky fart. That's what's taking the markets down. However, didn't make a new low today. I've had my eye on Tesla. Do I want to sell out of the money? Tesla Q calls. That's a tough one here. I think a lot of people have bad references of understanding how Tesla bottoms or tops. Remember this straight line move. Think about this. Now I said people go check out November of 2021, how it peaked. It's pretty damn violent, right? Nice, smooth, and boom, 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 blowout. The gaps are typically the last exhaustion. At this point, this is a big move. I mean, again, I'm not calling the bottom in the sense of what I think is the actual price point. I don't know. My thinking is that it ultimately has to do with some sort of exhaustion after the big down move, and we're getting close. The volume is peaking. I mean, is it the final bottom? I mean, you zoom out, you can see we're coming into some levels down here. Where is it? Yeah, right in here, the 110s to the 90s. I mean, I think you're probably not going to go far beyond that, and if it does, then look out below. But I mean, volume is relative. Remember, you had some. I mean, it's pretty funny. I've been trading this stock for a long time. I remember some of the volumes down when it was in the 20s and 30s, and I mean, even with the splits, it's tough to know. Remember, the gaps typically or exhaustive at the lows and highs. I would be watching for that because it's probably going to lead the market. Another one that was acting kind of sneaky, Apple today. I don't have my charts, unfortunately, the same as I do at my home. This is a remote version of all this, and so we're just going to build it as we go. What is it, the 130 area? Just been watching the 130. People who know. We talked about that. If you know, you know, kind of thing. Where is it? Some old references. Either way, got to watch the June lows. We're right there. It's interesting to see us hit it again and wick off. I know there's a lot of, I think, Tesla rumors that are kind of coinciding with Apple's Tesla's talking about Shanghai closing factory plants. Is Apple next? We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, so I'd watch those levels. I mean, it's not breaking, so I don't think the market will follow, but you get the temporary whoosh. SMH, same thing, just kind of holding up, making higher lows. I apologize for the charts that are a little different. I'm going to pop through some of the names that I'm watching. Roblox, just tightening up green action down here. I mean, y'all know if you zoom out, you've got a gap fill and a box zone right in here. I mean, I don't. Hopefully it doesn't get down there. I was thinking the 24s max. Patience. You know, we talk about gaps being exhaustive but taking time. That's the hardest part, right? You want them to be like 2 days, but then sometimes it's chop and then go. It's there in the charts. It's all repeating patterns. It's just, you don't know. So you have stops ultimately. You can't just sit here and say, oh, for sure this is going to happen. CF taking out recent lows. Keep in mind, this has been a strong stock. I don't know what is going on in the near term, as it can be always difficult. We're just in support. We're at the weekly trend. As we all know, if you've been trading CF, it can be a little, what I would call manic, in the sense of like it makes crazy highs before it goes lower, makes a crazy low before it goes higher. I mean, is this it here? A big chop pattern? I don't see this turning over. Do you? I was watching oil today. I noticed it was up and then it was down. Got the USO here. Tight action. We'll see. I mean, it's interesting to watch because a lot of people are watching the TLT. I'm like, wow, this thing's getting down to the 100 area. Did not see that coming, but that's part of trading. Now, we've talked about the bond market. Stability is crucial. You're at some areas that are pretty important, as you might imagine. 50-day, some trend lines. Let's see what happens here. I haven't updated these charts. Way too many things. I'm just going to watch the 100 level. It's a big psychological level. You know, we took out the 103 area and gapping down today. I mean, are bonds being tax loss sold? I think it's very possible. Would not be surprised by that, would you? I mean, I'm personally not, if that's potentially what's happening here. Keep that in mind. Be thoughtful of it. Got some levels. Dollar today. And again, I apologize, this is an abbreviated version. I'll get some better recap tomorrow. Here you go, coming into the lows. I mean, it's just tightening up. It's just tightening up. I didn't transfer my workspace when I went on this little travel vacation, but whatever. You know if you're watching this stuff. I mean, it's just tight action. It doesn't look crazy. IWM, what was that down today? Looks better. I mean, it's relative, right? Holding up. Doesn't look bearish to me. We'll see. I mean, I don't have all my zones up here, but you all know, if you're paying attention, this is meant for the folks that are following. Good old AA. Oops, not AAQ. Took a little off today on the pop over 45. Just cause. Retesting the recent highs. If the market wasn't going to go and thought maybe it chopped back, we'll see some. And again, partial, not all. Took some. Added some SPY actually at around 380.50. Didn't get the low, but not bad in the morning. Took this off in the morning. It went a little higher. I think it sold at like 45.10 or 15, whatever. I like it. I mean, materials overall look pretty solid. It's just I think the market is caught with the headline risk of Tesla and what's going to happen here. And I mean, I'll bottom line it here at the close. Like, just keep the simple, quick 10-minute recap. Like, you got to be cognizant of this. This action is, I'm amazed how people are jumping in buying puts now, or the non-believers that were, as they're being called, were like, oh, I'm gonna hold the stock forever, and then the price action forces them to act. And I know everybody who's listening to this has run into that. I mean, I have, where you're just like, this is okay. You're like, this is okay. This is what I'm gonna do. This is the right play. Just don't need to watch it. I'm gonna hold on forever. And you learn that lesson at some point in trading, that holding on forever to a name that's not acting well ultimately becomes the biggest mistake of your life, potentially, or it leads to just an awareness that you go, okay, I will hold stocks that perform and I will dump ones that don't. Because at this point, anybody who's saying that in their brain is, arguing that this is good to hold on to is wrong. I mean, I hate to say this because I got friends who hold Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin has potential for the long term, but you always got to trade stuff. And that's what I learned with gold, and I'll kind of end it on that. Like, I used to trade gold pretty aggressively in the 2015 to 2013 time frames, and I just always thought it was going to go higher. And then you look at it, right, and you go, well, no, it didn't. Right? You thought this action would lead to a straight line move, and it's like, well, luckily I didn't buy and hold from 2011 highs, but it just seemed like it was destined for greatness, right? Like inflation, printing money, all that stuff. I mean, look at these charts on the weekly. Some of these, this is again a different computer. It just didn't happen. And this is what I worry about, say like Bitcoin or Tesla or whatever. I mean, if it gets caught in this pattern of dump and die, the market can do what it's going to do, and momentum is lost. And if you own Tesla and you think it's going to rally back and it just doesn't, man, you're going to learn the lesson that everyone does at some point, that the trade is over and it's best to move on and just watch. Because it can, you get decent moves, right? Here was a nice 30% move, but then it just was dead. And I think the same can be said about Bitcoin, what happened. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people really understand what happened too with oil. I mean, I love to pull up USO, but it's not the best chart. But I mean, there was years post 2014 and 15. I mean, look at this stuff just going nowhere. Now I know the oil is deteriorating. I don't have the futures chart, but there was times where, again, I mean, if you think about oil from a bigger perspective, 2009 to 2022, it's just traded in a range from basically 130, 150 highs down to, I mean, I don't really count the COVID lows as real lows, but somewhere in the like 50, 60 a dollar barrel range, right? Like that happens. And so if you would have just held oil the whole time, you missed out on opportunity. And I guess that's the best way to bottom line the end of this, is that, you might believe in Tesla, but believe in your stops, believe in your processes, that it's okay. I mean, I think a lot of people want to mentally marry something, and we all do. And what it ultimately leads to is a divorce, in the sense of your trade time frame, when it's going to work out, how it's going to work out long term is just wrong. And I think a lot of people have seen that with, like, I think there's a few folks who traded uranium or certain other materials. I mean, you just learn that, like silver. I mean, imagine if you held silver from 2012, 2011 just till now. I mean, you don't really understand. You didn't give yourself the ability to mentally pivot, and that's the thing. And if you would have given up and just moved on, and it doesn't mean you can't go back and say I love silver later. And maybe Tesla is about to rally. I mean, it's due to it, but man, you should be taking the profits, not believing that it's coming back. Like anybody in their right mind who thinks Tesla, like this action leads to just rip back rallies, no. I mean, remember, it traded at 1,000 PE or whatever. Now it's trading at double digit 20, 30 PE now. Momentum is lost. Like and this is the hardest part, is that people don't realize, like, there's sellers just waiting above for opportunity to get out. That unloading of that inventory and shaking out can take years. And I mean, I still have folks, because again, being from North Carolina, a lot of Cisco shareholders that are they just don't realize that. Like they didn't realize their lesson in 2000 and 2000, and it's just dead money. Now again, people say, oh, look, it did okay. Are you telling me you couldn't find a better trade than something that went from, I mean, I guess you probably didn't get in at the lows either. I mean, 15, 16 up to 60. I mean, it basically just followed the market, The momentum is lost. Never reclaimed it. Now, I don't know if Tesla plays out like Cisco, but the odds are that, again, once the momentum is lost, you just move on. And it becomes a trading vehicle. The stock isn't going anywhere. I mean, I am genuinely concerned for even Apple friends long term. Like, they believe that they can't mess up. And, I mean, they've had, I'm trying to think of, like, when the biggest rally they had, and then it just died for a year. I mean, again, it's probably hard to reference the 2000s, but I mean, look at that, for 6-7 years, just goes nowhere. Like, are you prepared to mentally invest in something that could go nowhere for a couple years? I personally would just divorce it and move on and look for the next future. And again, if you don't see the future through the materials lens that we're trying to make people aware of, then yeah, it's probably pretty hard to think that it's going to happen and that they'll be repeating. And what we've said, and again, maybe this video is maybe not so much a recap, but just kind of a thought process as basis too, is that once something loses the momentum, you have to be willing to pivot. And we always talk about the hardest trade is to do what's hard, right? Well, what's probably hard right now is, folks, to just move on from Tesla, because I think a lot of people are getting caught in the spin cycle. And end it on gold real quick. Again, if you're looking to short this, please be careful. The seasonality of gold, again, unless the market's about to roll over, this could float. And that's why we're talking about oil, gold, certain materials names floating up. Doesn't make the market look bearish. I mean, who was it? Gallagher, whatever, was talking about Caterpillar, and I told him, like, last week, I'm like, I don't think the market's that weak. Look at this thing. I apologize, I'm just still rambling. Keep going, but this is like things that continue in my mind look bullish. We talked about, he was like, oh, I really want to short Caterpillar up here. It's like, Caterpillar's not making 52-week highs because it's weak, right? Like, that's just not how it works. So I hope this helps. Is this a breakout? Is the market going to rally? Is there going to be leadership that changes near term? Remember, new money, new year. This shit's going to come rolling in. I don't know for a fact how long it could last, but I do know me mentally, I am not looking to short anything right now. Nothing. Unless it's a dramatic pop. No. I'll leave it on that. All right. I'll have back to the normal setup tomorrow. I appreciate everybody. Please be safe out there. Again, it's not easy. Light volume, light weeks during the holidays. So DMAX, EXP Realty, peace out.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.